Good. All right. It is recording. That's awesome. Hopefully it stays that way. All right. So when you need me to click, just go ahead and kind of look at it, and I'll do that, or you can just say click. If I'm not going to click.
That's
all right. So whenever you're ready, I'm ready for you.
Okay. I'm presenting arguments for mandatory vaccination. I believe that vaccinations should be mandatory. I believe that everybody should get them. And vaccines cause autism. I'm just kidding. It's a common misconception that's arisen from the fact that the internet has become more widely available to people who, are a little more gullible than others. And many misconceptions about how these vaccines work and whether or not they're dangerous. Either citing a news source or a celebrity rather than going to a medical professional to talk about it. And vaccines are imperative to the survival of a tremendous amount of people, and not just your own children. It's important for people to come to an understanding of the peer-reviewed, scientifically proven facts about vaccines, otherwise we may be susceptible to the diseases that we previously wiped out. What is a vaccination? Not everybody knows what a vaccination is, even though it's a pretty common thing. According to NIH, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, traditional vaccines contain either parts of microbes or whole microbes that have been killed or weakened so that they do not cause disease. When your immune system confronts these harmless versions of germs, they clear out of the body, they clear them out. So vaccines trick your immune system to teach your body important lessons about how to defeat its opponents. It's sort of like when you get the flu shot, you get a little bit of that flu, it's your body learning how to clear that out. Well, vaccines obviously help the body. I mean, I just told you how. However, people have made myths about, how it does not help the body because they're skeptics. Okay, next slide. One common myth is that vaccines cause autism. Autism is a developmental disease. It's genetic. There's not much more to say. There's no way that you can catch autism from a vaccine. Like, I'll sum it up. You cannot catch autism. You're not going to be miraculously just become autistic if you take a vaccine. It doesn't work like that. It's also just an offensive fallacy. It's offensive. My little brother, he has mild autism, and I love him so much. He is vaccinated. I'm sure there's no correlation there. But, I mean, I'd rather have, a little brother that is awkward in some social situations than I have a little brother that is at risk of dying because he's living out in the real world. And the origin of this started with a doctor named Andrew Wakefield. That's Andrew Wakefield. And Andrew Wakefield, he pretty much made this huge conspiracy that vaccines caused autism. That's where it all came from. And he doctors information, and it turned out that all of his information was completely fake, and he was shunned from all the medical community, and now he goes around to anti-vax sites and does weird stuff like that. And now we can look at some of the diseases that we've developed a vaccination for. Okay, a famous disease, polio, which this little girl has right here, it causes the inability to move. It's very common, but now it has a vaccination. And according to CDC's website, the measles, rubella, mumps, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, tuberculosis, and rabies all have vaccinations now. You may have heard of most of these, but some of them are still evident today due to ignorance of the wonders a vaccine has on the body. And Jason McDonald from the CDC said, if you are unvaccinated and you come in contact with the measles, there's actually a 90% chance that you'll catch it. And that disease is thought to be wiped out in the 2000s, but because people are not vaccinating their children, it's coming back. It's really bad. Now let's look at the effects of these diseases. Measles causes a rash all over the body. It's very gross. CDC said not only this, but your temperature can spike to more than 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which it can really, really harm your brain. Rabies is also terrible. I'd encourage you to watch this video of a guy, he has rabies and it hasn't been treated. It looks like a horror movie. It's horrifying, but it's real. And in the beginning you have flu-like symptoms that lead to hallucinations, paralysis, which he's in right now, and hydrophobia. Hydrophobia is when you drink water, and as soon as the water touches your tongue or your throat, you spit it back out. You can't drink any water, which is, you have to drink water when you're sick, so it's pretty much not allowing your body to get better. And now there are merely 1 to 2 cases per year of rabies, and due to vaccines, that's a really good thing. So that means that we're getting rid of it. Some famous people have had some of these diseases that are now vaccine preventable. 42nd President Franklin D. Roosevelt, he had polio. And according to the Child Hospital in Philadelphia, the 3 presidents, Lincoln, Garfield, and Cleveland, all had children that died from diphtheria, which it's also a really gross disease. It clogs up your throat essentially, and then makes it stops your heart. It's really bad. George Washington, I found this, he somehow survived smallpox, diphtheria, and malaria at the ages of 15, 17, and 19, which I don't know how he did that, but he did. And these famous people have been victims of the vaccine preventable diseases, and not vaccinating your child can cause issues for other children as well. Thank you. Not only is it imperative that you vaccinate your own children, but the reason I believe vaccination should be mandatory is that other children who have medical conditions can't take the vaccination are at more and more at risk. When other parents do not vaccinate their kids because they searched up reasons on Google for 2 hours, instead of listening to a medical professional who's been through 7 years of med school, is horrifying. It's really dangerous because diseases that we are able to fight off are now thriving and continuing to survive because people are not asking people who are professionals. So I'm going to explain echo chambers, and echo chambers are places to where people may go, non-vaccinated people may go and talk about it. There's no outside information that can come in. They just go on social media and they just talk with other people who share their same ideologies. And the issue is no outside facts are coming in. It's just a cycle of them agreeing with each other. You also see this anytime you scroll through social media and you click, see an example of something with a political thing. So when you click on a political thing, more and more of that same ideology is going to come up on your feed. That's the same thing with if people click non-vaccination stuff, more and more of that is going to come up on their feed, and they're going to be more and more convinced. So I'm going to explain the correlation between allergies and the MMR vaccine. What I said earlier, some people have certain allergies to vaccinations, and they're not able to get the MMR vaccine, which covers a lot of stuff. And the issue with this is people who are able to get the vaccine aren't getting it. So when they don't get the vaccine, it'll infect the other people who are not able to, who already have weak immune systems due to these allergies. And the CDC wrote that people who have cancer or weak immune systems are not able to get it. However, if your child does not have one of these issues, then they need to get vaccinated. It's something you really need to do. This right here, that was something I found actually, it's on Facebook. It's just ridiculous. It's something that a non-vaccinator put up to, it's just ridiculous. All right. But, so in conclusion, my friend and I were talking about this topic, and he came up with an analogy. He said, when you're driving, you do not have to wear a seatbelt, even though it's required by law, but you should, since the law is there for a reason to increase your likelihood of surviving in case of a car accident. Just because your mom says you don't need a seatbelt because she doesn't believe in wearing a seatbelt doesn't mean your mother's incorrect. We have scientific evidence to prove that seatbelts save lives and that there are no downsides to seatbelts within reason. It should be the law that we need vaccines so that we can thrive as a society and not linger in the path of diseases and scientific ignorance that causes harm to our civilization as a whole.
Do you think maybe somebody else should hold the time?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sure.
I'll do that. That's fine.
Yeah, since you're kind of like doing. I don't think you probably saw you right over here.
What time is it? I can do it.
8:43. You make time. You're good to go.
She held the 8:30, but you weren't looking because you were right.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah, that was good.